Alright, so today we're gonna talk about the popular real-time strategy game. This is probably the game that everyone has played, or at least heard of. Perhaps one of the most iconic and nostalgic series, the Age of Empires series. We're gonna talk about the Age of Empire 3. So Age of Empire games are real-time strategy game based on real historical events from the Stone Age until the Industrial Age and Modern Age. You will be able to experience the ancient traditional times until the Industrial Modern Age if you play the games in order. So this time we're gonna tackle the Colonial Age, but we are going to talk about Age of Empire 2 as well. So, Age of Empire 3 was released in 2005. This is 3 years after the release of Age of Mythology. The graphics, the animations, and the cutscenes of this game is obviously way ahead of Age of Empires 2. I don't like to talk about graphics, but it looks like Age of Empire 3 graphics is a more polished version of Age of Mythology. Also, how the buildings in mythology can face other directions as well. Of course, when it comes to graphics, Age of Empire 3 looks beautiful, but interestingly, Age of Empire 2 is actually more popular than this game. Everyone in my country knows Age of Empire 2, but they didn't know that there was a third game. And when I look at the internet, it seems like that is also the case in worldwide. So I decided to play the game to find out why. I'm not really sure where to start, but I guess I will start with the campaign. But before we start, I have to remind you that we are talking about the original Age of Empire 3 and 2, not the definitive edition. The game has two expansions with new civilization and new campaign in each expansion, of course. Most of the campaign in Age of Empire 3 is actually half fictional. The original campaign and the War Chief campaign is about the story of a fictional black family and the story of each generation of black family, starting from Morgan Black. The story itself is always about betrayal, usually involves the Fountain of Youth, while Chaitin Black is preventing the massacre of Sioux tribe. This was very shocking to me because this game deviates from the historical campaign that Age of Empire usually have. I decided to try this game because I love history and that's what I expect from an Age of Empire game. So it's very hard for me to like the story of this game. It's just okay to me. It's just the usual story of greedy Western colonizer, and the missions are always the same. Like build and destroy and use your limited army to go to this location, but you have to hide in a cave. And also, people say that the campaign of this game is half fictional just because you meet historical figures like George Washington, Simon Bolivar, etc. But the focus of the story is still the black family, not them, and you only see them briefly. They don't matter. And on top of that, the black family has a big influence in the story. So to me, this is a fictional version of the historical one. For me, this was a strange but interesting decision and direction. But I do have to say, I love the cutscenes. It looks like watching a movie, especially the position, the angle of the camera. It's the one that carried the story. Although the story itself, it's okay. It's too narrow, too short, and I honestly don't care about any of these characters. I don't get attached to them or anything. It feels like watching a mediocre old movie. It it feels boring. You have more freedom if your story is fictional. Make us feel attached to the characters. Do not include historical characters if they don't do much anyway. Make a more interesting conflict. Maybe try to write a conflict between nations instead of a single antagonist or evil organization, or make it an entirely fictional story. I wish they would just make the usual historical campaigns, but one that took place in colonial times. There are so many historical events that I want to see in Age of Empire 3 style, but they mostly just focus on America instead, and it's fictional. Campaign is the important part of Age of Empire games. It's the one thing that attract people to play the game. So I think this is one of the reasons why Age of Empire 3 is not as popular as Age of Empire 2, because Age of Empire 2 is popular because of its historical campaign. The second reason why Age of Empire 3 is not as popular as Age of Empire 2 is because of the massive difference in gameplay. I think this is the primary reason why the game is not as popular, and you will know immediately what I mean when you start playing. How everything works were changed from Age of Empire 2. Some things are now simplified. Some things are now limited, deleted, and nerfed. First of all, there's only three types of resources now instead of four. There's no stone anymore. Villagers now don't need to carry resources in their hand and return them to deposit point, which means there's no more lumber camp and mining camp. And the upgrades for gathering woods and golds are now moved to market. You can say that all of these makes the game more convenient, but it honestly makes the game too fast and less realistic. Less resources and building need stones, right? And the resources that the villagers have collected just teleported to the town center somehow. The one thing that I hate about this game's combat is there is no unit command in this game. There's no aggressive stance, defensive stance, standby stance, no attack stance. You can't guard units anymore. No follow units, and no unit formations. Wow, there's nothing. I didn't expect this when I started playing this game. Just imagine your units are always aggressive. You have to manually drag your units to get out of trouble, especially long ranged units. Normally, I would just let my archer or long range units stand by, while my close range units in defensive mode. That way, they won't go wild and attack enemy units recklessly. I can't tell you how many times where I just simply let my units on their own in this game, and I have to manually drag them to go back to their position. and protect my cannon. It's so annoying. In Age of Empire 2, you could use the box formation to protect your important and weak units like cannon, ranged units, etc. I look everywhere in settings in case if it's turned off or something, but I didn't find anything. I couldn't find anything. This game literally went back to Age of Empire 1, which is quite funny because this game is set in near modern times, but for whatever reason, the soldiers are stupid, I guess. Whatever. The defensive structure in this game is useless. Since this is colonial age, defensive structure now uses firearms instead of bows and arrows to fire at approaching enemies. But that's not the problem here. The problem is that they don't deal much damage, and you have no way to increase the damage. For example, in Age of Empire 2, there are, I think, four defensive structure: watchtower, bomber tower, town center, and castle. Now, watchtower, town center, and castle shoots arrows, but you can actually increase the amount of arrows by garrisoning archers, cavalry archers, or villagers. If you do that, the castle became even more powerful and more effective at killing enemies because it deals more damage and can hit multiple targets. But even the base castle attack is already strong, while Bomber Tower is just straight up more powerful. Meanwhile, in Age of Empires 3, you usually only have access to Watchtower. Like I said, defensive structure shoots with firearms, including fort. But as far as I know, there is no way to increase the firepower of fort and watchtower. You can upgrade both fort and watchtower, and in the last upgrade, those will have cannons, which is, I guess, the bomber tower of this game. But even then, with cannon upgrades, it's still weak, too weak. Imagine fully upgraded units can have like 300 HP, 500 HP, and there is also mercenary, cavalry with 1000 HP or something. Or it doesn't even matter if your enemy got an army of pikemen. The fort can be destroyed easily. Despite the big size of fort, it can only fire at single target. Sure, it deals area of damage, but it's far from good. Just not as good as the castle from Age of Empire 2. And I have to remind you that usually you can only build one fort. And it's not only fort, there's also build limit for watchtower and several other buildings as well. So not only weak, but the build limit also hurts. People will argue that this game is mostly about Western colony and explorers, so they cannot build a castle or something, but it's still strange to me that a separate cannon, falconet, deals more damage than the cannon inside the fortress and watchtower. With this, Age of Empire 2 has better defensive structure, and there's no build limit, which means you can get creative with your defense. The only way to replicate the castle of Age of Empire 2 is by positioning your falconets behind wall with field hospital near your falconets, if there is any in home city. There are other minor gameplay differences that I have not mentioned, like how you can now repair building without using villager or settler. by just clicking the hammer button. Though you can only repair your building if there is no enemy nearby after an attack, which means if your building is attacked by a large army, it's over. Your building will likely be destroyed before you can intercept, or it will take massive damage. Training military units in this game is different. In Age of Empire 3, you train your units in a group, so you will get 5 units per training, which makes the game too fast sometimes. The blacksmith in this game is now called Arsenal. I have to say that the blacksmith or arsenal upgrades in this game sucks. It's not exciting to look at. In Age of Empire 3, there is no armor stat. Instead, this game uses resistance and HP. As far as I can see, most of units in this game doesn't have any resistance. Instead, they have damage bonus, so there is no way to reduce damage in this game, but correct me if I'm wrong about that. In Age of Empire 2, you have scale mail armor upgrade, chain mail, and finally plate armor upgrade for infantry upgrade. Meanwhile, in this game, there's only a few upgrades. The rest of unit upgrades comes from either the native tribes in trading post and home city, but the tribe only gives specific type of unit upgrades depending on their tribe. Without armor, units and buildings seems to be easily destroyed. Personally, I like the armor system more than having a high HP. Alright, it's time to talk about the third issue of this game, which is the biggest reason why Age of Empire 3 is not as popular as Age of Empire 2. This game is unbalanced. Everything in this game is broken. I feel like the devs of this game didn't know or realize what they were doing when they designed units, buildings, and the entire game. I'm not even joking. This was the first time I feel that way when I play a game. Let's start with the home city. So, in this game, there is something called home city. What is this? Well, you'll see a green bar slowly progressing under your civilization flag. This is the experience point of this game. You get this by doing many things. You will also see numbers appearing when you kill an enemy unit. That's also experience point. Once it's full, you will be able to choose one shipment. So if you click the flag, you will see a bunch of cards. You can choose one of these and it will be sent to you, normally appearing from town center or home city gather point at the sea. And it seems like both player and the enemy can use home city, but correct me if I'm wrong about that. Home city is basically reinforcement or supply from your home country. While that sounds cool, but by having something like this in a strategy game is too broken because it's basically free. It's a bonus. And you can get many things from this units, upgrades, a card that can turn into buildings, etc. It gives you an immediate advantage, an instant bonus, upgrades without spending anything. And you can get these experience point pretty darn fast, especially by killing enemy units or destroying their buildings, or you can also get additional experience point from trading post. You can level up your home city and unlock cards by keep playing, of course. Once you unlock the cards, you can put them in your deck. You can add a new home city in the menu when you want to play a new skirmish or something. Each civilization has its own unique home city. There are shipments that cost gold, but usually that's mercenary cards. This is just my opinion, but this is the one feature that ruined the entire game for me. The fact that there is also a shipment that can be sent infinite times with no gold cost or anything. I don't know, man. Alright, we're gonna talk about the main problem of this game, aside from the home city. Everything in this game feels overpowered. A native warrior with maximum upgrade can destroy building easily. Native archer can shoot faster than a musketeer. Cavalry having 1000 HP and high melee attack. Back then, the cavalry with the highest HP was Persian War 11. But now we have things like French gendarmes that is as tough as Indian elephants. It doesn't make sense to me. I know French have the best cavalry, but were they really that durable? And there are other powerful units as well in each civilization, including the expansion civilization. You can hire mercenary in this game, and some of them are even more powerful than the usual units in barrack or stable. Every unit just feels powerful in general. It kinda kills the fun for me, because units in Age of Empire 3 have the same stats or even stronger than a hero unit. Cannons in this game are insane. They have an insane power against infantry. They can blast multiple infantry with a single shot, no matter how much HP you have. Even the Bone Guard swordsman in Morgan Black campaign just dies easily. What makes cannons different in this game is that they shoot straight, while the bombard cannon in Age of Empire 2 shoots upward in an arc, so you can dodge the projectile easily compared to Age of Empire 3 cannons, but that's what makes Age of Empire 2 balanced. I don't know, man. Cannon feels cheap. Feels like there's barely any strategy in this game. The naval warfare in this game is very different. We are, after all, in the age of colony and exploration, so, of course, even the ships have cannons mounted. I kinda missed the fire ships and the galleon though. Those were fun to use compared to this. I just don't like the fact that certain units or ships have skills. So certain units can use skills that usually deals damage. Usually only heroes and ships. Maybe for heroes it's fine, but for ships, I don't like it. Everything already feels overpowered at this point, but ships having skill is just unnecessary. They are already powerful. Those monitor ships can obliterate buildings without skills. And building or training these ships does not cost any population, unlike training ships in Age of Empire 2. Like, what? Training native warriors also does not cost population. which is also overpowered, by the way. But I guess for native warriors, we built the trading post on their village, so they do have homes. But this, what is this? The next issue I have about the game balancing in Age of Empire 3 is buildings that generate resources. So far, everything I mentioned before already made this game broken. But it turns out that there is something even more scary. There are buildings that automatically generate resources. The Western civilization can build a factory from home city, a building that can generate one of the three resources, or train a cannon for free. And also, other civilization can also build factory, and the Asian civilization have similar buildings with the same function. I dropped my jaw when I saw this for the first time because we already have an infinite source of food and gold, which is farm and plantation. Remember how in Age of Empire 2 you need wood to replant your farm after the food is collected? Now you just build a farm building and send 10 villagers to gather food. Plantation is similar to how farm works, except you get gold. And don't forget that trading posts also generate gold, food, or wood, or EXP. What is this, man? The fourth problem of this game is the expansion. All Age of Empire games have expansion, a new version of the game that adds many new things to the game. Usually, expansion is so exciting, especially the new civilization and campaign, but somehow I don't feel excited with the Warchief expansion. The campaign is still about the Black family, actually, the last one. It's alright, I guess. And the actual gameplay, I feel like one of the civilizations, Aztec, is weak compared to any other civilization. And the Native American civilization in general, compared to the later Asian civilization, feels weak. Too weak. Aside from units, Native American tribes have the worst defensive structure. There is such a huge imbalance between European, Asian, and Native American civilization. I don't like playing as any of these Native American tribes. I guess this is based on the real life, the reality that they were weak. And then here comes the Asian Dynasty's expansion. As the name suggests, now we have Asian civilization during the age of colony and exploration. The campaign of this expansion is finally about historical events, which is Tokugawa for Japan and India revolts against British occupation and colonization. Those two campaigns still have a fictional protagonist, but unlike the Black family, it's not about them, but their war and struggle. It's kind of like the last campaign of Joan of Arc in Age of Empire 2. I wish they did this from the start. Though, surprisingly, the China campaign is fictional. It kinda looks like this campaign is about a hypothesis of how the Chinese found the Native America. Let's quickly move on to the gameplay. The Asian Dynasty's expansion is adding more issues to the game. I'm not going to explain everything. I'm just going to talk about a few things, a few issues that I have with this game. You know, the way Asian civilization aged up is very different from the original civilization and the Native American civilization. Asian civilization aged up by building a wonder. Each of these monuments will give you a bonus, like train a free unit, give bonus to units, resource gathering boost, resources gain, etc. This is like the equivalent of factory, but there are 5 wonders. You get even more bonus than a factory. The Asian dynasty's expansion introduced a new type of resources, the exports. This can be used to train units in consulate based on the civilization that you're allied with. You will get exports gradually like experience. This is supposed to be the place where you hire mercenary, but only for India, China, and Japanese, but it doesn't cost gold. This is yet another free units. Dude, just how many free units does this game have? I mean, you got Home City, you got free unit training in Wonder, you got free units from Consulate, you got native units that doesn't cost any population. I don't get it. Each of Empire 3 gameplay is really just rushing to victory very quickly. And the last issue that I have with the Asian Dynasty's expansion is the balancing between the three civilizations. China is weak, like really weak compared to any other civilizations, especially at early game. Japan is probably one of the strongest civilization. They have strong units and their house actually generate resources. You can just do a samurai rush to quickly corner your enemies. But India, in my opinion, is kinda broken. They can get resource gather boost from the Karimata Wonder, and they have their wood version of Cherry Orchard. That means you can place all of your villagers near your town center and defensive structure. You don't have to go out there to get woods. And the last thing, their elephant units, especially Siege Elephant and Houda. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. Just imagine you got a ranged cavalry with 120 attack and 1000 HP, and this can be increased further if you have Mansabdar around. Dude, the strongest unit I've ever seen is Finnish mercenary Hakapel. They have an insane attack, but they have low HP unlike this. And then they have siege elephants, probably the strongest siege unit in the game. Siege elephant is almost as powerful as the Turkish Great Bomber, and unlike normal cannon units, they are freaking fast. Normal cannon units need to change between walking mode to attacking mode, and it takes a few seconds. But Siege Elephant doesn't even take 1 second to change between mode. With the combination of these two, you're done, man. They just destroy everything. I don't know what to say anymore at this point, because what on earth are you supposed to do against that? Okay, that's the last gripe that I have with this game. I'm not saying the game is bad or anything, no. This game actually added many things. I appreciate things that this game improved. For example, this game revived the unused concept of trading workshop and out of boundary trading. Those two concepts became the trading post and home city. While I dislike home city, I still appreciate the effort to revive a concept that they had planned before, so it adds more to the game. And it's not only that, they actually revived the outlaw concept. It became the treasure guardian. I also love how each unit in this game have unique voice. Some units have the same language but different voice, like different male voice, for example. And then you have native units and mercenary. They have their own language and voice based on their civilization, where they come from. And I like that this game tries to have more unique and diverse units, unlike in Age of Empire 2, where everyone have the same cavalry, infantry, etc. I like that. Though you have to be careful with the game balancing with many units. Maybe I will try to play the definitive edition of Age of Empire 3 and 2 someday. It should have fixed the issues that the base original games had. Okay, that's it. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. See you, folks.